Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the She Knows Arsenal podcast. I am joined by the hilarious Watson Hirschfield today, and we're going to break down the Arsenal 1-0 win over Everton. Watson, welcome to the show. How are you?
Thank you. Thank you for having me. No, I'm really good. As you said off camera, like when Arsenal win, we're all in a good mood, so I'm feeling very good.
I want to do a little icebreaker with you just because you've never been on the show before. And instead of just being like, how did you become an Arsenal fan? We'll just do something a little bit quicker.
Cool.
Your favorite Arsenal player and your favorite Arsenal moment.
Sweet. Are we doing Arsenal player currently or all time? I could give you both.
You can give me both. You can give me both.
Okay. I'll say currently right now, so I play football. I'm like a number 10, so I love Odegaard. So I'd say Martin Odegaard is like my favorite player. Saka's very, very
Hmm.
close, but I think Odegaard, because I like to play number 10, I think I'll say him. And of all time, Thierry Henry, the king. That's my guy. So I'd say those two players. Yeah.
Oh, nice. So before we get to your favorite Arsenal moment, are you anything like Martin Odegaard on the pitch or not?
I would
Like, what
say
kind of number 10 are you? Are you more of an Emil Smith Rowe? Are you more of an Odegaard? A little bit of a combination, a little Ozil? Because there's
I would
different number 10s.
say yeah. I think I won't say I'm Ozil. I loved Ozil, but the fact that he just didn't work hard really frustrated me. So I'd say not him. But I'd say more of an Emil Smith Rowe. I like to drive for the ball and I sort of link up play. I wish I had like a quarter of the technical ability of Odegaard. I'd say I have a bit of that, but if it was any player right now, can't let's say Smith Rowe. So because I love to drive with the ball and then try and link up play.
Love that. And favorite Arsenal moment?
Oh God, there's so many. I'd, do you know what that springs to mind? I'd say um, the Barcelona Champions League when we beat them 2-1 at the Emirates.
Yeah.
Only because I think, in
Yeah.
my eyes, I think that was the best Barcelona football team I've ever seen in my life. So the fact that was prime Messi, Iniesta, Xavi, and all these players, and then I remember Xavi scoring, and I hurt my back celebrating at home. I'd say that was the best, one of the best moments that I can think of for sure.
Oh man, yeah. So there's so many different moments and different moments from different eras, so it's hard to pick one. But
Mm,
that is definitely a good one. So we're gonna go ahead and jump into obviously everything that happened at Goodison Park. Arsenal have finally gotten a win at Everton, and the last time that we were able to do that was in 2017, which is a
good
long
Lord.
time ago, and means that that was like a little bit of a booger for us. Like going there
Yeah.
was not fun. How does it feel to have broken the curse?
It feels so good. I think watching the game, I don't know what it is with Arsenal lately going to Goodison Park, because Goodison Park is a very intimidating place to go anyways. It does remind me of like Highbury, how Highbury used to be quite intimidating for players and teams to come. So I'd say the fact that we finally broke that curse, it feels like a Drake curse that is finally broken again, sort of thing. So it's just nice to finally go there, get a win. And I think the way we won as well, I think was impressive. So just wish we could have taken our chances more, but a win's a win. Made my weekend, so I'm very happy.
Exactly. When Arsenal win, we're happy. Like that's all it is.
Exactly.
Like at the end of the day, like going to somewhere like Goodison Park, it just feels like they're just so loud and raucous and the
Yeah.
ground is like on top of you, and once they do like one of those leg breaker tackles that usually they have in their locker, like then the crowd gets loud and then they're up for it. But it feels
Yeah.
like the way that we started the game out just kind of crushed them, and they had no ability to kind of like get beyond like that first line of Declan Rice, and so they
Mm.
just looked discouraged from even trying to do anything, which I think is a sign of like Arsenal's progression. Everton just did not want to play us
At
yesterday. You
all.
could just
No,
tell,
no.
like they were like,
It
I can
it
understand that a
was
little
yeah,
bit too. If you're going to be chasing the
exactly.
ball, like why?
Is that I think it's so different compared to the other times when we've come to Goodison Park and played. Because last year I think we've even a couple of years we tried to play a different game to adapt the Everton sort of style of play, which is basically rugged, getting a tackle, get the crowd hype. But
Mm,
I think we got the control from the get-go. And I think every time they got the ball, they didn't know what to do with it because they barely had the ball. So I think it was
Mm.
like a very, very telling performance, I think, from Arsenal, just controlled the game from the start. As you mentioned, Declan Rice had a
Mhm.
great performance, just controlling that midfield. I think it always starts with midfield when you go to away games like Everton. So I was very impressed with the way Arsenal adapted to that game.
Yeah, and I think some of the ways that Mikel tried to adapt to the game was also like with his starting 11. And that was a
Mm.
big conversation before the game. Like we always have a meltdown for the lineup every time. Like
Yeah,
I don't know what it is about Arsenal fans. It's like we have an addiction to melting down over the lineup.
yeah,
It's I don't know what it is. It's like the lineup is coming. I need to melt down. Like I need that.
yeah,
And it's, I think it was coming, Rhea starting.
yeah.
We just didn't know when. During international break, it was like, is it going to be Everton? Is it going to be PSV? Is it going to be Brentford?
Mm,
It ended up being Everton. And like I said, it was a huge talking point. And Mikel's decision to bring in Rhea has been criticized by the media, of course, but he stood firm when he was questioned about it before the game, saying, I think I mentioned that I wanted to build a strong squad with two quality players in each position with
mm,
different characteristics. And we have to get to that now. And to maximize that, they have to play games. And we have a lot of games coming up now. And so basically, he's trying to make the goalkeeper position more like an outfield position where there's two top quality, options there, and you can rotate them and play them whenever you want. What have
mm,
you made of Arteta's plan to make Arsenal's goalkeeper situation more
mm.
competitive?
I personally like it. I like the fact that we have
Mm.
depth. We have a lot of depth in the squad finally. After so many years, we have depth in the squad where we can be able to change. For example, we brought Trossard on when Martinelli was injured. That's something a couple of years ago we could never do. We always get something for the academy players or get maybe a right back to play there or something silly like that. So I think we were able to get competition. I personally liked Ray's performance. I think he's a lot personally better on the ball compared to Ramsdale. I think
Mm.
nowadays goalkeepers like to play with the feet and they sort of like to link play from the back. That's how we see the transition from football how it is today. I liked his performance personally. I think especially I was quite surprised because he's quite short for a keeper, like the same height as Ramsdale. So it was quite commanding in the box when the balls came in, which kind of like impressed me a bit. So I was
Mhm.
quite shocked. We knew the quality of Raya. I knew when we signed him it was going to cause a bit of an uproar. But then again, we've been there before with Ramsdale when we signed him. People were like, "Oh, they weren't
Yeah.
really sure about Ramsdale and etc." So I think I personally like the signing. I like competition. I think it's just going to elevate Ramsdale's performance even better. I think Ramsdale's going to look at that game. I think Ramsdale's still the number one. Personally, I think he's still number one.
Mm.
But I think he's going to look at that game mentally. He's going to be like, okay, like Ray is good. He had a good performance, clean sheet as well for a goalkeeper is a big thing. So it's
Mm.
a nice to have that sort of competitive element to it. I'm here for it. I'm here for all the competitiveness.
Yeah, and like I think I'm like a natural skeptic, so I'm always
Yeah.
listening to Arteta, and I'm like, do you really mean that? Or are you trying to like pull a fast one? Because Arteta's not
Yeah.
always like the most. I don't know. I don't want to say he's dishonest, but he'll tell you stories. Like he will tell you
True.
stories. Like he's one of those. Like you have to read between the
Yeah.
lines. And when he first started talking about the goalkeeper situation, I did get worried about Ramsdale. I was like, this is just so unorthodox. This is not necessarily something that I feel like we have to do. Matt
Mm.
Turner leaves, and you could just bring in another number two. It's not like Ramsdale. Ramsdale's a very good, young,
Yeah.
talented goalkeeper. It's not like we went into the summer window feeling like that was a position that we absolutely had to upgrade upon.
Yeah.
But Ray is a player that was probably one of the better goalkeepers in the league last season. He comes with a certain level of pedigree. And so it did make me worry. But with more research and like trying to understand that football always evolves and that sometimes when you're in the middle of evolution, it feels uncomfortable, but you get to a better
Mm.
space. I was trying to figure out if this was something that was unheard of, and it actually is not. And there's a team in the league right now in Brighton that is currently doing this with their two goalkeepers, and
Yeah.
they're praised for absolutely everything that they do. And this is a quote from Jason Steele, who, talking about rotating in goal with Bart Verbruggen. He says it's different, but it is what it is. He's the boss. I think talking about De Zerbi. He changed my life last season by having trust and faith in me. So whatever he wants from me, I'll give to him. And so there's another team that everybody feels like does absolutely everything right in Brighton, and they're
Yeah.
doing this. And also Pep has done it in the past. So it's not unheard of. I understand that there's always like kind of like a desperation to stick the boot into Arsenal, but
Yeah.
this could be something that really benefits us, like you said, having the competition. And right
Mm,
now, having two good goalkeepers, there can't be anything bad about that. Like,
exactly. I don't remember the
nothing bad
last
about
time.
that.
I don't remember the last time Arsenal, even the Invincibles. I don't remember the last time Arsenal had two great goalkeepers. I don't think that's ever happened
Right.
before. So I think
The
it's a
last time it
testament.
happened, no, go ahead.
Also, I was going to say it was a testament to Arteta's mentality that's finally into the
Hmm.
Arsenal sort of DNA where the competitiveness is back in the squad in terms of, your place is not guaranteed. I remember Martinelli didn't get a start last season. Earlier on, his place wasn't established yet. So he kept playing
Hmm.
different players in that position. So it's all part of the plan. I trust in the process, so I'm here for it.
Yeah, and like what I was saying is the last time that it happened was when we had Leno and Martinez. But
Yeah,
Martinez had come in for those 8 games, and I don't know if it wasn't really planned, but I think they discovered that Martinez was good in
yeah,
those 8 games that Leno had been injured. And they wanted to do something like this in that season, but Martinez didn't want to do the splitting goalkeeper time.
yeah.
And so we couldn't do it. And so I think we have to be patient and see how this works out, come from a positive viewpoint of it, like you said, and just trust the process. But
Mm,
like you said, Rhea looked good yesterday.
yeah,
Good debut for him, clean sheet, like you said. So no notes, no
yeah.
notes. The guy
Can't
was
complain.
looking good, and yeah, I can't complain.
Can't complain.
Speaking about somebody else, speaking about somebody else who got a start yesterday was Fabio Vieira.
Mm.
Just right off the bat, were you worried to see him on the team sheet when the team sheet came out? Because a lot
Uh,
of people, I think, had apprehension.
yes and no. Yes, I believe he deserved the start, only because of his recent performances when
Mm,
he came on. I think he's changed the game so much every time he came on. I think he had like 2 or 3 assists in his last couple of games consecutively. So
mm,
I think he definitely is warranted a start. The only reason why I was a bit apprehensive because, as we said earlier, Goodison Park is a very intense game. And as you said, Everton keeps tackling the players and all that stuff. So I didn't know if he was physically inept for the game. I didn't know if that was be adaptable. But then again, I'm all for, if you perform really well, you get to have a start. So I think it was warranted. Personally, I think he had a great game. I think, especially in the first half, he controlled that midfield on the left side. He linked up very well with Declan Rice when he moved a bit forward when he wasn't as deep. Um, he had a couple of chances when went to Rose Ed, but it happens. It's football. But I think personally, honestly, I was quite impressed that he adapted to the first half, especially very, very well. He got into the pockets a lot in the left hand side. I
mm,
think it was 1-on-1 a couple of times. So that gave me a bit of hope. I think the only thing is just hopefully he can finish his pudding sort of thing. When he gets into that
mm.
place in that position, be able to finish. But I think his passing was great. I think him and Odegaard was able to be those sort of advanced tens, I think, behind Nketiah and sort of help him out. So I was for he surprised me in terms of adapting to the Everton game.
Yeah. I think before the game, like even before the lineup came out, there were already conversations around people saying this is not a Fabio Vieira game.
Mm.
And you will find you'll know this about me after today. Like I am the president of the Fabio Vieira fan club. Like I love him. I think he's so good. And even last season, I was getting cooked so much by being like,
Yeah.
just be patient. It's fine. Like he'll be fine. Like relax.
Yeah.
And I thought that he'd be good in this game because even though obviously there's the physical aspects of the Goodison Park games, like he is so good on the ball, and we were going to always have like 80% of it. So
Mm.
we need to have players that have like the ability to break down that deep block. And he's definitely one of those types of players. Now, I agree with you that he'll probably look back on some of the chances that he had and say, like, okay, I probably could have done better with that. Maybe,
Mm.
had a little bit more composure here and there. But the spots that he was getting into and the passes that he was making was exactly what we needed in
Yeah.
that game. We needed more creativity where I think Kai is better like more off the ball and making those runs and getting on the
Mm,
ends of things. And so I
yeah.
think it was a good call by Mikel. I don't know if it was just a look towards like having 3 games in a week, knowing we have to play PSV and Spurs. So
Mm,
you want to give maybe Kai a rest. But
mm,
I think it's interesting that like now we have different players for different games and it
yeah.
just works. Like Fabio just works. And I think people putting too much emphasis on Kai being dropped, maybe it just wasn't the right game for Kai. I don't think that's the
Yeah.
like we're gonna probably see him in the next 2 games. So I'm very impressed with Fabio Vieira this season and impressed with the fact that we have so many different tools to
Yeah.
use and they all seem to be kind of working.
Like working really well because I'll be honest, like when we signed Vieira, I think it took him a bit of a while to adapt, I think, to the sort of
Yeah.
the high, not, I don't think that necessarily the high pace of the Premier League. I think it's just more of the physicality of it. I think that's what he had an issue with. But I
Yeah.
think now that he's had that season under his belt, I think you can see in his game, he's sort of can be able to wriggle out challenges or even draw in fouls, which he did quite well yesterday. I was for it. I was very impressed. I mean, I'm not a Kyle Havertz hater. I think signing him was a good addition, but I think sometimes just shaking things up a bit is what top quality teams need, such as Arsenal. So I'm here for it. I was very impressed with Vieira yesterday. I think Steve's performance.
That like I'm so happy for him because I always knew
Yeah,
that he would at some point like really get into the squad and he just needed to eat a little bit more. He just needed a
that's
little
all.
bit more like muscle mass. Like
He'll
he
get
needed a
there.
new
As a
diet.
exactly. So I'm pretty sure probably Mikel's told him the same thing. So I think yeah, I think he was wanted to start yesterday. So I'm very proud of him. Yeah,
Yeah, and obviously like the one thing about Fabio that I really like is that he always leaves with something. A
yeah,
goal, an assist, something. And it's unfortunate because he could have gotten an assist yesterday for Martinelli's offside goal, but you can see like what he's really good at and just kind of
mm,
going into like talking about Martinelli a little bit. I think that goal, if we had scored that goal, like things would have opened up a lot quicker for us
yeah.
because then Everton would have needed to like come at us a little bit more. But that was like a typical Arsenal goal. And what I liked about it was that like even though it was offside, was that Everton switched off for 1 second and we punished them.
Mm,
And they were like shell shocked by it. Had Eddie been just like just a millimeter like forward and not offside,
yeah,
like that would have been a dagger to them because they were concentrating and they had to concentrate a lot because they were defending for the entire game. But
yeah.
had we had broken through in the 22nd minute, I think it would have been a lot easier for us to just go ahead and win the game and maybe score a couple more goals. Martinelli's injury, though, um, are you worried about that? It looks like a
Mhm.
hamstring. He's an important player. And you saw like with the goal, like he's a goal threat too. Is that something that you're worried about, or do you think like with other players in the team we have it covered?
I think I think we have it. I mean, I love Martinelli. I think Martinelli is a great player and a great kid as well. So I think it was a shame to see him because he doesn't really get well. If all the front three that gets injured the most is Martinelli, so it's just a shame that he's getting
Mm,
injured once again. But I think as we mentioned earlier, we have so much depth in the squad. We could just easily bring in Trossard, who I think is a guy that can even not just play on the wings, but he can play as a 10. He's so adaptable to any of the front sort of four positions that we have in the squad. So I wasn't too worried. The fact that, I was like, oh yeah, we got Trossard on the bench. Even we got Reece Nelson as well, who's grown. I love Reece Nelson. I think he's grown a lot into the Arsenal squad. So he was deserved the extension. He deserved the sort of more game time. So I wasn't too stressed over the fact that it's a shame that Martinelli's injured. Hopefully, it's not for too long. Hamstring injuries can
right.
take a bit of a while to get back, but I think given the games we have coming up, I think we've got PSV on the Wednesday and then Tottenham obviously on the Sunday. So I think hopefully those will be great chances for him to sort of show why he should be the person that's starting when Martinelli comes back. So I wasn't too worried at all, especially him scoring with a great finish. So it gives me sort of more hope that Trossard will do a good job.
Yeah. I think that's like the biggest, I think, sign of Arsenal going in the right direction is we're getting injuries now and we're not panicking. Like,
Yeah.
I think people are underestimating, like, we went to Goodison Park, we played against Manchester United, like, we played some difficult games, without some of the players that were that if last season they had gotten injured, like Thomas Partey, like that would have been it. People would have
Yeah.
been, that's it, season done. And so I think we've played so many different players. The levels haven't really dropped, and I think that just shows that Arsenal are definitely going in the right direction in terms of like squad depth and stuff like that. But Martinelli is just such an underrated player. I think he still
Yeah.
goes under the radar. Martin Odegaard and Saka, I think, rightfully get so much praise and so many eyes and so much attention. But Martinelli still hasn't really broke through yet as like a player that people
Mm.
see as like a star. And I find that so strange because when you watch him play, you can't keep your eyes off of him. Like he is just so
Yeah.
good. It's unfortunate that he sustained this injury, but he'll come back stronger. It's fine. Like it'll probably be a couple of weeks. And like you said, Trossard is there, Reece Nelson is there. So we got it
Exactly.
covered.
Yeah, I think
We
it's
got it
it's
covered.
always important. It's always important to think that. So I'm glad we got competition. As you said, we mentioned about Ray and Ramsdale. So God forbid one of them gets injured, we got a top class keeper anyways. So I think we're
Hmm.
moving in the right direction with that. So yeah, bring on PS3, bring on Tottenham. So yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about, you know, beyond individual performances. We'll get on to Declan Rice because I know people always want to have a conversation about him because he's just
Yeah.
so good. So we will talk about him. But in the first half, after we scored the offside goal and it obviously was called back, we didn't really have that many clear-cut chances. And from
Mm.
minute one, like we said, there was control there. But some words that have been used to kind of describe Arsenal in that first half and even in parts in the second half is sterile, slow,
Mm.
ponderous on the ball, lacking entertainment. Like I know even like rivals have said like, oh, Arsenal are not as entertaining. Do you think that Arsenal have kind of maybe sacrificed a little bit of that free flowing football for more control? Or is it just Arsenal haven't quite clicked yet? Or maybe a combination of the two?
I think it's more of a case of I don't think we've clicked yet, I think compared to if you look
Yeah.
back our first few games that we had last season, I don't remember Arsenal start, even the Invincibles, like we never started that well in a Premier League season. Like I remember we faced every single team, we absolutely battered them. Even I remember away to Bournemouth. I'm no disrespect to Bournemouth, but I remember that game. I think after 25 minutes, I've never been so calm with myself. I went to Tesco, came back. I knew Arsenal were going to do all right. So I think I was just so chill with that. But I think now it's evident to see that Arteta's trying to do something different. I think it's just trying to mix and match
Hmm.
stuff. Me personally, I think that's what preseason's for. I think if he's going to try and mix and match and try and experiment, that's what preseason's there for, sort of thing. So I remember even the
Hmm.
last game when he started with the original back four. I remember he tried to play Thomas Partey as a. I didn't really understand it. I didn't get it. I think it was more of a case of he's just trying to prove a point. Don't know why, but I think that's hence with the whole. That's what brings in the whole lethargic, you know, um, timid sort of passing from the back and etc. Because there was a bunch of opportunities where I think Nketiah had like so much space, and then he just out Arteta was just seeing on the touchline, just calm down. We don't have to sort of rush and etc. So hence why we're
Hmm.
sort of winning games like even Crystal Palace. I mean, I know we were down to 10 men for like the majority of the second half, but that was sort of the same elements. We didn't take our chances. It was quite timid, but I think he's just trying to experiment. Personally, I'm glad. I like Zinchenko. I like the fact that we have that fullback that could go into midfield and then sort of do the link up
Hmm.
plays because he's technically very, very gifted. So I'm glad with that. I like Jesus. There's no disrespect to Nketiah, but I'd like to see Jesus start. I personally think he's fit. I think Arteta again is just trying to be that mastermind sort of thing that Nketiah can play. I trust him a bit more. But I think getting the win, as you said, like I think watching the whole game, we controlled the game, so that's what didn't worry me
Yeah.
too much. I think, but then again, when you control a whole game and then you can end up losing, then it's a whole thing. But yeah, I think it's more of a case we haven't really hit full gear yet.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. I think, there is an element of wanting to be controlled, and I can see that Arsenal are trying to be patient, and I
Mm,
think they're aware of the fact that like because we were so open last season, because we were enjoying ourselves and it was like vibes and stuff, that we were really open at the back quite a
Mm,
bit, and we put a lot of stress on Saliba and Gabriel and Ramsdale. And so I think they want to be more mindful of like not overdoing it, because we don't
mm,
have to, and eventually you'll find the opening and score the goal. But early days have showed that like we do create enough chances, but we just don't put them away, or we're not making the right decisions in the final third. And there is a lack of fluidity in that front line. And like you kind of touched on, like Nketiah, he's playing really well. I think that's
he
the
is.
thing is like Nketiah is playing really well. And so it's harsh to be like, okay, well, but I still kind of want Jesus in the team. But it's because Jesus gives you so much in terms of like being able to switch positions, and he's more
Mm,
creative. He just does a little bit more for us up there. So hopefully we see Jesus start soon. But I agree with you that I don't think it's a matter of Jesus not being fit. I do think
yeah.
Arteta is wanting to have like this Nketiah moment. I don't know.
Yeah.
It feels like he's like, I
It's
like
I
this guy and you're gonna like him too.
Yeah, no, I think you're bang on. I think he got our first goal of the season, so I think he's like, okay,
Right.
yeah, Nketiah is gonna be our guy, sort of thing. I think I had a discussion with my mates the other, like I think before the season started, and then we were all agreed, like Nketiah is gonna start more. I don't know why. I think we had that feeling with Arteta, him being a bit unorthodox in terms of, for example, no one saw Raya starting pretty much against Everton, or even Vieira
Right.
getting the game, sort of thing, especially away at Everton. But again, he's proving his critics wrong. So I personally think it's a vendetta against Arsenal. I think it's always been that way in terms of the sense that, it wouldn't be, no one would be saying this about Brighton, as you said, in terms of the goalkeeper switch, or even when Pep
Mhm.
does it with Man City. So I don't know, but listen, we keep knocking the haters. Haters are going to hate at the end of the day, so I don't really care. It's 3 points
Yeah.
at the end of the day.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, like I'm hoping that we click. Like I think that's everybody's like we're gonna
Yeah.
click at some point. Like I'm hoping
Yeah.
that it happens soon. And I think it's just a matter of like also, Saka and Odegaard, they're such good players that like even when they're not playing at their best, they contribute. But I don't even think those two have hit their stride yet. I don't think they're
I
anywhere
agree.
near the levels that we know them to be at. So, and I think it's okay too, because we really were so good from the beginning of last season. We were as good as we were going to be in preseason. And then we
Mm.
just kind of like went down from there. Do you think it might be beneficial for Arsenal to kind of grow into the season instead of starting so energetic and so good? Have something to get to and work towards instead of like trying to maintain a high level
I think it's
from the
it's so
beginning?
hard. It's so hard to judge because every time Arsenal would start this way, it will always be a bit too little, too late sort of thing. But the difference of last season was
Mhm.
for about I don't know for about 32 games, Arsenal were really really good. Even in the games like
Mhm.
for example when we played City at home, Arsenal I think were the better team. But obviously City was City. They had the experience. They knew how to win from away from home, even if they weren't at their best. So it was, having. I mean, I've never seen anything like it of last season where Arsenal was so good for so many games. So we haven't really hit full pace, but again, it's people have to also understand that it's really early days. There's only 2 points separating first from like fifth, so still very
Mhm.
early. I think we still have to, count our blessings and our chances. And I think that's the one thing I would critique about Arsenal: just getting those chances, got to take them because I think Odegaard was 1-on-1 twice, missed. I think, as you mentioned, Vieira was 1-on-1 as well. So we had chances where we could have, the game could have been done by the 60th minute sort of thing. But I'd say that's the only
Mhm.
thing that I would critique. But I think, if anything, I think it would hit, it will kick on because I think the addition of Declan Rice has changed everything. Like I can't. There's times where I watch the game and I can't believe he's actually wearing an Arsenal shirt. It's crazy. But I think with the addition of Declan Rice, that could be able to control the game the way we do. I think it's going to be. I think when we hit, it'll be even better than last season. I think personally.
Mhm. Well, let's get into the section of the podcast where we talk about how amazing Declan Rice is, because this is always my favorite part of the show. I'm just saying, because
I agree.
he's just
I
so
agree.
good. I'm gonna let you go first. I'm gonna let you go first because, like,
Uh,
yeah. So
He's,
good.
I
Go ahead.
think, honestly, like I used to love Shaka anyways. Even when people hated on Shaka, I loved Shaka. I loved Granit, and I think I loved the shift, especially last season. What he could be able to do for the team was amazing. But I think I've not seen a midfielder at Arsenal, dare I say, sort of like Vieira in a sense where he has pretty much everything in his locker, where he could be able to pass the ball. I think the amount of times when Arsenal would lose the ball, Declan Rice is the first man to get it and then just cleans up and then just starts from the back again. I can't remember a time, hence why I say Vieira, because Vieira used to do that quite a lot, where if Arsenal lost the ball, Vieira could be able to tackle cleanly and then just sort of calms the team down and then just sort of distributes from the left or right. I think it was it's so good. So he's worth every single penny. Honestly, there's times I get emotional just watching the game. Like I was at a charity match yesterday, and then they had a screen, hence why I was able to watch it there. And then the amount of times I screamed Declan Rice's name just for such good things that he did, just cleaning
Mhm.
things up. Even when, like, to be fair, like even I think he did like a couple of misplaced passes, but he'll win the ball back. Like he wouldn't sort of
Mhm.
complain, sort of thing. He just wins the ball back, and then he'll sort of start from the back again. I think it helps Saliba and Gabriel so much. The fact that they have someone like Declan Rice in the middle of the park. I love Thomas Partey, but I think the only critique that I have of him is I think he does sometimes quite a bit too much, and then he does tend to lose the ball quite a lot, and I think that's where all his critiques does come from. I think with Declan Rice, he's
Mhm.
so calm, he's so controlled, and he did that in West Ham anyways. I know in West Ham is a bit more up, like he did push up a bit more, but as he mentioned, I think last game against Man United, he could be able to do anything. Like he said, if Arteta makes me want to play there, he's happy to play there. So I think again, Declan Rice controlled the midfield. I don't think the midfield got a couple of passes together throughout the whole game, let alone for a passage of play. So he's so good. I'm so happy we have Declan Rice. You have no idea how much I'm playing the Rice Baby song. Everything is all good and sunshine and roses. I'll let you talk about Rice because if I talk
Oh
about
my
him more,
God.
we'll be here for like 30 more minutes. So yeah, I love him. He's great.
Exactly. Like it's just the smile on everybody's face when they start talking about him because he's just we've robbed West Ham. Like they thought they robbed us. We robbed you. You should have
Oh,
asked
one
for way more
preach,
than a
preach,
100 million because that
preach.
guy is insane. Like he is so good and like I think you hit the nail on the head. It's like the control and the calm that he brings to the midfield is something that I think is massively underrated. And when you compare the two of like Thomas Partey and Declan Rice, I think in terms of on the ball, maybe Thomas is just a little bit better in terms of
Yeah,
maybe between the line passes. I don't know. It just maybe. And I also think it's like the way the two of them look on the ball. I think Thomas is a lot more like fancy and he looks like
yeah,
slick and Declan Rice does not care about the aesthetic. He just gets it done,
yeah,
you know? But
exactly.
in terms of off the ball, that is the difference for me. It's
Hmm.
the fact that he can stop transitions on his own and he discourages players from even trying. I think after a couple of times when Everton tried to break out, he stopped them single-handedly and that was just it. And I think with Thomas, like sometimes once you're by him, you're by him. And with Declan, it's so much more difficult to get through
Hmm.
Arsenal's midfield. And there were times where, McKella tried to play two like double tens. He tried multiple times. One time, I think with Thomas Partey in a Europa League semifinal against Villarreal, I think, against Unai Emery. We tried it with Emil
Hmm.
Smith Rowe and Odegaard. It didn't work. Like there was just too many spaces. We were getting eaten up. He tried it
Hmm.
again in one of the cup competitions with El Neni and ESR and Odegaard. It didn't work.
Hmm.
And so
Yeah,
I think you have to have a certain type of DM in there that can kind of do the midfield by himself. Like he's a one man wrecking crew in there. He does all the passing, he controls the tempo, he stops counterattacks, he does everything,
yeah.
and that allows Vieira and Odegaard to just kind of concentrate on what they're doing. And so now we can play so many different combinations. There's an opportunity for Emil Smith Rowe to play in there too now. And so he's just a fantastic player that opens up the opportunities for us. And he could end up being our Vieira, our Rodri, something
Mm.
like that. And he just looks the business. Like, he just looks the
Yeah.
business. Like, I just cannot get over it. Like, and the guy can score goals too. I mean,
Oh,
man, I am
oh
just
my,
so
oh
happy with that
Jesus.
signing.
We deserve this. We have been through it for years with like sort of DMs and etc. Again, I love Thomas Partey, but as you said as well, like he could do it on his own. Like I think when Partey was doing it on his own, it was quite hard for him because I don't think he's more
Mm.
used to having, as we said, with Shaka by his side sort of thing. But Declan Rice can do it all. Like I knew he was good, but I didn't know he was this good. It's sort of like Jesus. Like we knew, like I knew Jesus was good when last season, but I didn't realize how good, really good he was. So we
Mhm.
have, I think, I personally, or they're the same age. I was going to say we have a future Arsenal captain, but I think we have a future Arsenal legend. I think we have a future Arsenal vice captain at least. So I
He's
love the
already
man.
leading,
So
you can see it. You
mm,
can see it, he's already leading, you can tell, like, he's just out there, and you could tell that there's, like, a respect from everybody else, like, they're listening to him, like, he's not out there like, "Oh, let me be quiet and make sure," like, no. Like, he's out there, like, telling people what to do, and he's a good compliment, I think, to Odegaard, like, we'll always have a leadership group that is like 4 or 5 guys that are kind of doing the leadership all together, and they complement each other really well. I'm sure Jorginho is a part of that group. Jesus is a
mm,
part of that group. I think Gabrielle is a part of that group. And you have Declan Rice and Odegaard, and it's just like the perfect combination of guys in there. But like you said, we deserve this. Like,
yeah,
I don't, I'm going to keep talking about Declan Rice every day because
as you
we
should.
deserve this. We have been through it with midfielders. Like, we just
Yes.
needed a DM. That's what we needed.
Wasn't too much.
He's
We
so
didn't
good.
ask for much. We didn't ask for much. But sometimes I believe those who wait get good things in life. And as an Arsenal fan, we have waited for so long. But honestly, it's just so good to see we have someone like Declan Rice in our team. So we're very blessed, and I think it's going to help as well, especially in like the Champions League games, adapting to different teams from Europe. He can still be able to sort of, I think, regardless of the style of play, I think he can still be able to control the midfield. So yeah, and it helps Saliba and Gabriel so much. It really does. Because last season, I
Mhm.
think that's where we lacked. Without Saliba, which was a very big, loss last season. But we still have a DM
Mhm.
that could be able to protect any of the defenders that we have. So Declan
I
Rice all the
agree.
way. If you are watching Declan Rice, we love you. Don't leave. So yeah,
Never. Do not leave.
do not leave.
Yeah,
No.
no, exactly. The last thing, before we get to members' questions on Patreon is we need to talk about the goal, because
Mm,
I think obviously it's just 1-0, so it's like it was boring and there was nothing there. But if you needed one goal to win the game, and you wanted, you had to describe what kind of goal you wanted to see, it's probably Trossard's left-footed ping into the side
oh,
netting off of
oh
that
my
that
goodness.
move. Like, it was just, the strike was, you don't even know what his best foot is. He's just such a good technical player, and I don't know. I was excited about that goal. Oh, I think I lost you. Oh, I think I
Oh,
lost you for a second.
oh,
Let me just
oh,
go back for a
sorry.
second. No, you're fine. If you wanted to see a goal, that is a goal you wanted to see. And
Yeah,
Trossard for me is a player that I think goes under the radar at this club a little bit, just because he's not a starter, but this is who we're bringing off the bench these days. This
yeah,
guy. Like, he's kind of like the Belgian Santi. Like, that's what he reminds me of, like a
yeah.
Santi Corzola type of player. He's just that good. Like, tell me what you thought of the goal, because I mean, it was sweet. It really
It
was.
was so like I don't think people understand like how hard it is to open your body and do that kind of shot, especially on the first time as well. It's like one of the most difficult skills you can do in football to be able to like do an open body sort of first time volley, I guess. But it
Mhm.
was, I think. Well, I was speaking to one of my mates yesterday, actually watching the game. I think he said like I think he's Arsenal's most behind Odegaard in the squad, and I really do agree with that. I think Odegaard is technically stupidly gifted. I don't know how he does it. He's just a wizard in that 10 role. And then we have Trossard, who is generally like so technically gifted. I think that goes under the radar, as he said. And I don't know. It was such a good goal. I think I love goals that sort of goes off the post and in. And obviously the way that did it happened
Mm.
so fast. But I think what I loved as well was sort of the celebrations, like even after like seeing Saka like saying, yeah, yes, finally we got that goal and it's from Trossard, everyone just going to him. And I think everyone knew in the squad, like, okay, Marseille's injured. We're relying on you to sort of do that role. And I think I love Marseille, but I think Trossard does more in a sense that he could be able to come into that second 10, I guess, with either if it's Nketiah or Gabriel Jesus up front, and then Saka, who's always going to be on the wing anyways. But he could be able to come into that 10, support Odegaard if needed, it needs to be, even in the goal. Like, I know it came from a corner sort of thing, but he was in that sort of the box. He wasn't like a natural winger sort of there, just standing there from the corner. So the fact that he has a technical ability to do a goal like that was, I mean, I screamed personally. I mean, I could believe it, but I couldn't believe it. I was like, finally. But then I was like, Jesus Christ, the goal was so sweet. So I was just so happy that it went in, and he deserves it. He's so warranted it, and especially away from home, especially like last season, getting the goals away from home from Trossard is something that Arsenal really lacked, I think, in terms of getting goals away from home, dominating games away from
Mm.
home. And now that we're doing that, we're adding goals to that as well. So Trossard's goal was so sweet. I'm just so happy. I think, as you said, getting an Arsenal win is so nice. It makes the week so much better. So yeah, I love
Arsenal
the
fans
goal.
just sit around smiling on Monday mornings when we win. It's just like, just think, oh, Trossard goal. Oh, Declan Rice performance.
Literally.
Oh, we're just like
Oh,
so emotionally driven by our club. Everybody's probably
oh, we
like
are.
that, but
Uh, Especially Arsenal. I personally don't think there's any more team that Arsenal fans go through roller coasters like Arsenal fans. But it's just beautiful to have, even like against Man United last week. Like I don't, not even last week, the week before international break. I don't think I smiled so much in my life just after an Arsenal game sort of thing. So the same was like
yeah.
yesterday. I think Trossard is brilliant. I'm so glad we have him in our team.
He's probably our most underrated player, I think.
Mm,
Probably next to Gabrielle. I think just go under the radar, and it's like you
yeah,
forget about them, and then, or like even Trossard, he comes on, you kind of forget how good he is, and then he does something, you're like, oh yeah, actually this guy is like a true baller, like he really is. And like
literally.
I'm just excited to see more of him too, because I already anticipated seeing more of him because we're in so many competitions and we're going to be playing in Champions League. And so now with Martinelli's injury, obviously, I do think it opens up more of an opportunity for him.
Mhm.
And he is different than Martinelli, which I think for some people frustrates, because they want to see that same dynamic. Because Saka and Martinelli are yin and yang. They go together so
Yes.
well because they're different, but they complement.
Mm.
Trossard is different. So he doesn't complement as well, but what he offers you is something invaluable, which is goals and assists, ingenuity. Like he's just so good in those tight areas. And I actually think he might play really well with Kai. I think
Yeah.
him and Kai actually go together better than Kai and Martinelli. So we'll see how that develops. But that goal was just so nice. And these are the types of players that we have in our team now. I think people are really maybe undervaluing or underrating the like how our squad has developed. There was a time where if Martinelli got injured, we didn't know who was coming in. We didn't know what was going
Don't
to
know.
happen.
Exactly.
We had no clue.
We were through
So
the trenches. We went through the trenches for sure. So yeah.
yeah. So yeah, 69th goal, 69th minute goal. It was a stunning goal, and obviously Arsenal go on to win the game. And all we can ask for is the 3 points. And like we already kind of spoke about, we're not quite clicking, but when you're not clicking, you still have to get the results. And I'm choosing to believe that this is champions, level behavior that we're displaying here. Is when you're not
Yeah.
playing well, you're still getting the points. I'm looking glass half
Exactly.
full right now because I have to, But
Yeah.
we're gonna end the main part of the show now. We are
Or
going to
it's so
continue the
quick
conversation
already.
over. It
Like
was
what?
it was quick. It was 45
It's
minutes on the dot.
how
See,
on earth?
I'm on it. But of course, it
I'll
it's
give you
it
I'll give you
always
your
goes quickly
flowers.
when
I'll
you're
give you
talking Arsenal.
flowers.
See, I do some things very professionally. Other times it's like it's a train wreck, but I get timing pretty
Nah.
well. Um, but yeah, time flies when you're talking about Arsenal win for sure. We're going
Yeah.
to hop on over to Patreon and finish the conversation where Watson and I will be answering members' questions. Watson, can you let everybody know where they can find you on social media, what are you up to so that they can follow you?
Of course, yeah. So I do content creating and presenting. So you can find me on Instagram and TikTok on That's Watson, all one word. Yeah, if you want to see a weirdo in a room imitating stuff, by all means, just go on my page. Um, but yeah, I do all different types of stuff as well as presenting. So yeah, just give it a little look, see if you want to have a little laugh. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. So yeah, That's Watson on Instagram and TikTok.
Amazing. You guys will have all of his information in the description, but make sure you guys follow him. And he's hilarious. He's saying it's a weirdo and he's a weirdo in a room. No, it is like it's up there level content where I'm like dying. Like your impersonations of like Chris Brown have me
Oh, thank
dead.
you.
Like I love it. Like it's so funny. Like that is my type of comedy. So thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. And all right, you guys, I will see you over on Patreon. Make sure you guys get in the comments. Let me know what you guys thought about the show. And as always, up the Arsenal. Bye
Woo!
guys.